Hi, I'm B and I built my rat snake Cygnus a bioactive enclosure. All the information about him and what I used and any other questions you might have will be in the description, so check that out perhaps if you want. So first with the bioactive enclosure, I just started with a foam background, as we all do. I'm only doing one side because I have pet rats in the same room as my pet snakes, and I don't like them looking at each other. I don't really know if it actually helps anything, but it makes me less stressed. So that's why I'm only doing one side. It looks a lot nicer than the cardboard I have laying up against the cage before. So, and plus, Cygnus gets to use this, and I love that. So I added a cork tube that he loves to slither through and hang out in, curl up in. And I also added this ledge, this little cork ledge, that he likes to climb and sit on. The cork ledge was very difficult to keep foamed in, as you could imagine, because it's top heavy and such. But I did figure out a fun little way to keep it up while the foam dried. I just used some tape to make little fall barriers so that it doesn't fall either which way, and to my surprise, it worked. I did not expect it to work, and I was going to be very sad if it didn't work, but it did work, and I'm very proud of myself. So once the foam was cured and dry, I carved it out with a butter knife. If you don't know why, we carved the foam because not only to make it look in the shape that we want it, but it also creates rough edges to put the silicone on and have it stick better, so that we can put the dirt on top and have that stick better as well. Carving the foam is pretty self-explanatory. I use a butter knife just because that's really all I could think of using, and it works, so why not? Carving around the ledge and foam and the cork tube was a little tricky, but I have faith in everybody. But while I was carving, I found a little friend who decided to make a home in my snake's enclosure. A little jumping spider was in there. I clearly had to move her, so I didn't keep disturbing her. But I just wanted to share because I think that's so sweet and she was so cute. So anyway, here's what the background looked like once it was carved, and then we go in with the silicone and dirt. So I just squeeze the silicone on, rub it around with my gloved fingies, and then I just pack some dirt on top. I personally used some ecoearth mixed with some terrarium moss. I don't know what type of moss it is. It's just some dried moss. I mix the ecoearth with the moss because I think it looks better. It doesn't look as flat as just ecoearth, but you can do whatever you please. You can do whatever looks best for your enclosure. This step is also pretty self-explanatory. I don't have to explain much, but what I will explain is that I am not doing the back side of the enclosure with the background as you would expect for most enclosures, and that's because this enclosure has very odd dimensions. I found it on Craigslist for $30. It's a 60-gallon enclosure. Cygnus was originally in a 40-gallon breeder, and I knew I wanted to upgrade him to a 60. So I found this on Craigslist. I didn't ask for the dimensions. I just saw that it was $60, 60 gallons and $30, and I thought that was too good of an opportunity. So I bought it, and it's very skinny and tall, but I still think that works because I was able to give him a lot of digging space, a lot of climbing space, and overall it's still more room to explore than the 40-gallon he was originally in. So if I foamed the entire back, it would be extremely skinny. It would make it way more skinny than it already is, and I didn't want that. So the one side I think adds dimension without overpowering the entire cage, and I think it suits my needs and Cygnus's needs perfectly. So here's what it looks like in the end. I think it's pretty good, all things considered. So now here's where I'm very, very scared about. I had never mixed substrate before, and I'm the least confident in my ability to do so. But I tried my best, and I think it worked all right. I used some organic topsoil, some ecoearth, and some play sand. Did you guys know how cheap play sand is? Because I did not know that. It was $5 for 50 pounds. Kind of crazy. But I mixed it with a eyeball recipe that I got from some Bioactive rat snake Facebook groups and rat snake, corn snake Facebook groups. They're pretty much the same thing, but that's not what this video is about. And so my mistake was I am mixing it inside the enclosure. I'm not pre-mixing and then dumping, which you would think would be fine, except for the fact that because rat snakes need a very arid, pretty arid enclosure, I wanted to have a bottom layer that was sort of humid and then keep the top layer dry, because I had a cleanup crew who needs some humidity to survive. So that was the plan. But I didn't think it through. Because once I had the bottom layer, right? I have the bottom layer right now. I added the cleanup crew, I wet it. Here I am wetting it. I think I'm talking too fast, hold on. Here's some Josh's Frog springtails that I used and as a part of my cleanup crew, and I also used isopods. And so far, so good, right? My plan is going accordingly. Until I realized that I have to keep mixing the substrate on top of the already mixed substrate that is now wet. So I need to keep this dry stuff separate from the wet stuff. And I felt like it was a very dumb thing to do. But I figured it out, and so can you. Learn from my mistakes, please. Here's some isopods that oh, sorry, that little guy fell. But I slapped him in there gently. I didn't slap anything. So here it is. Here's where the mistakes start to happen. I simply felt silly doing this. But we did what we had to do, and it's okay. I really don't think it ended up that bad. I tried to mix it in a bucket first. It didn't do anything. As you can see, it's very unmixed once I poured it out. So I just had to continue with what I started. I really like to have a gradient from not very much substrate to a lot of substrate to have different burrowing opportunities, so that's why it's slanted. I also added some leaf litter on top for the various reasons of leaf litter, you know, feeding isopods and enrichment and such. Then it was decorating time. I added some sticks that I foraged, and controversial subject, but I baked them to clean them, and I know bioactive people hate when people do that, but just do whatever feels comfortable for your pet. I added some plants that I, for some reason, didn't record me planting, but those are the plants that I put in on the screen. The plants will also be in the description. But then I just added the rest of his decor. I added his water bowl, a little log hide, a giant piece of driftwood that he likes to climb, some smaller cork tubes. I also added that one cork tube, the large one in the middle, that's kind of underneath some substrate, just as a little cave type situation. I added a fake skull, and I was done. I think it looks very nice. I'm actually very proud of myself. It was my first big bioactive project. I had only ever done the jumping spider enclosures and tarantula enclosures, and I was very proud of how this turned out, and I think Cygnus really likes it as well. Here are some clips of him enjoying himself and exploring. I absolutely love watching my animals explore the enclosures I build them. It really is one of my favorite parts of owning animals, especially reptiles, because they really do use every inch of space, and it's lovely. So thank you so much for watching. Give me tips, give me ideas, give me your thoughts, and have a good day.